Right. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you very much. Good evening, good afternoon. I don't ever get that right if I'm honest. But hope you're well. Hope you've had a really nice Monday. It started gloomy, but it's all warmed up now, which is really, really nice. I am Nisanka, your host today. I am a coach and I'm also a holistic therapist. Um, this 1.5 hours is all about you. So the first thing I would like you to do is just take a deep breath and leave all your worries and all the problems behind. If you can, just visualize leaving them behind. And if you can't, that's okay. But I just want you to tell yourself you are going to be working on yourself the 1.5 hours. You're going to experience some of the things as well. So it's not just me talking, you will be experiencing. If you have any questions, please do use the chat box. I may leave the questions till the end if they can be left. If not, I'll pick up and then I'll answer straight away depending on. Hello, welcome everyone. And then this is about switching off your negative thoughts, and I will share some science behind negative thoughts, and I'll share a little bit of science behind switching it off and some helpful techniques as well. And then, other than this, if there's, I'm going to give you like 30 to 60 seconds. If there's anything that you would like me to cover during this session, let me know using the chat box. And if I have just told you what you're expecting to hear from me today, then give me a thumbs up. If not, is there any other expectations? Just let me know using your chat box. That would be amazing. So we can all be on the same level before we begin. All good? Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Switching off negative thoughts, and it can be done. And I'll tell you how. Awesome. Just a little bit of legal aspects to cover. Obviously, nothing I'm sharing is a substitute to medical advice or medical observations. So, if at any point you feel like you need help, please do seek medical advice because this is not a substitute. And then it's about you guys taking actions as well. Switching off negative thoughts is all about you guys taking action. So make that commitment to yourself right now that you are going to take some actions and put everything that you learn here today to practice so you can switch that negative thought off. And also have an open mind to try different things and ask questions. Yeah, and this is your space. There's no judgment. It's safe. It's safe, and there's no judgment. Okay, so I'll introduce myself a little bit more. So back in 2017, I was severely depressed and was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and I was severely depressed, and I was ready to leave the planet. Without using the word suicidal, I went to say that. But that was all linked to my traumatic upbringing as a child. But that was like the kick on my bottom, and that's what woke me up to reality in my life. And I asked the question, what's happening? Why am I being like this? And I started seeking, and I was on seeking answers. I was on antidepressants. I was on, CBT counseling. I literally tried everything. And then I kept relapsing, and I discovered something that really works for me, which I will be sharing at one point. And then, as a result of that episode in my life, I was, working in a managerial position. I couldn't cope, so I had to leave the work. Otherwise, they would have kicked me out because I was really bad at the time. I couldn't cope with anything. And then, it's been a long time. My marriage broke down as well. I decided to leave that relationship. I was in it for 19 years. We share an amazing child together, and all of that. And I literally lost everything. You can say I lost everything, But that's when I've actually really discovered everything within me. And it's a happiness is a state of mind. And I'm really glad that everything's happened to me that way, because otherwise I would have linked happiness to whatever the education I have, which I do have a good background in education. You know, I was a teacher for 20 years and I've even trained as an early years inspector. I would have linked it to, you know, the textbook happiness model of being in a family, you know, or textbook model of, you know, having money in my bank account. When I left my marriage, I had nothing. I was in a pile of debts as well. That's when I discovered happiness, because I was able to switch off these negative thoughts. So I managed. So I have lived the science I'm going to talk to you about. Okay. So I've lived the experience. So trust me when I say it can be turned, it can be turned. It takes some work. I'm not saying it's easy. Well, it's simple, but it's not easy because it needs consistent actions. Awesome. So I'm going to share a little bit about negative thoughts, where it begins. So, but if you don't mind sharing, let me know a little bit about you as well, because I said this is about you. How does this negative thoughts affect you? If you don't want to use the general chat, just send me a direct message. You can use the chat box and then select my name, and then you can send me a direct message so that other people can't see. But just tell me what it means for you. What do you lose in your life as a result of experiencing these negative thoughts? And what kind of a life are you missing out? What you're feeling? I'll give you about 60 seconds. Just drop me a word or two. Let me know what your experiences are. You don't have to go into all the details, but just let me connect with you at an emotional level, so I know what your experience is, so I can sort of focus the rest of the session to you. Yeah, lose your hope for the future. Absolutely. Imposter syndrome. I used to be that person. I was the clown. I made everybody else laugh. Yeah, ruminating on negative thoughts means there is less. Absolutely. Struggle to be in the present. Yeah, I remember, like, I was able to leave my child to watch TV for hours, switch off, couldn't be present. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing all of that. Imposter syndrome, intrusive worries. Yeah. Also a tendency to think about negative things. Yeah. Loss of energy. Yeah. Making mountains out of molehills. Oh, absolutely. Super critical of yourself, feeling trapped. I can relate to all of these things. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. Yes, that's I'm privileged. Thank you. Feeling trapped. Yeah. See, the thing is, negative thoughts, the negative thoughts or mind chatter, it's different from one person to another, regardless of your background, whether you have money, whether you have status in your life, whether you have the textbook success in your life, regardless, these things can happen, generate. And it's so varied. This is the thing with negative thought, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Anxiety and decision. Yeah, couldn't make a decision. Absolutely. This is what happens when you experience just one tiny little negative thought. Let me know with the thumbs up if you can relate to this. When you experience one thing, what happens is some sort of horror movie comes to life within a matter of seconds in your brain, right? Yeah. You start with, I've got a headache. And then the next moment, Jesus, am I going to die? Have I got tumor? Third, what's my children are going to be like when I'm gone? But I haven't got insurance policy for my children. Who's going to look after my children? Yeah, who's going to look after my children? I'm not ready to leave yet because I haven't done everything I wanted. Just a tiny headache can turn into a tumor, death. Yeah, the thing is, when that happens, your brain doesn't know the difference between that imaginative thought and the reality. And that's happening in your brain as a real thing. What happens with that is your fight or flight response, your anxiety stress response, it switches off. Sorry, it's on. It turns on. So you have a perceived threat. So your fight or flight response in your brain, in your amygdala, turns on. You're going into that stress anxiety response. With that, you're flooded with cortisol and everything. So there's a chemical reaction, right? So that's how we start living in this chronic anxiety. One little thought is more than enough. What happens also when this happens, your body gets used to that chemical levels, your brain and body gets used to chemical levels. So the next time it increases that bad chemical levels, and it keeps increasing and it keeps increasing and it keeps increasing, which is why some of us get really addicted to having negative thoughts and we don't know how to switch it off, right? Negative thoughts and anxiety all becomes an addiction we don't want, an addiction that doesn't give us pleasure. At least some of the addictions gives, in the process of numbing our feelings and pain, at least gives us a bit of pleasure, like a glass of wine or a bar of chocolate, at least for a second. But anxiety doesn't make us do that. Right. Have you got any questions so far? If you haven't, I'm happy to just keep moving on. Do you mind just giving me a thumbs up, please, guys? Cool. Thank you very much. So our brain, amazing. Our brain processes about 400 billion, more than Bill Gates owns, right? 400 billion bits of information every second. So I don't know how many seconds you've been listening to me so far. It's been about 12 minutes, and your brain has processed, do the maths. I'm not very good with maths. Do the math, processes so much information. As a way of coping with that information, we can only become aware of about 2,000, right? That's our conscious mind. And everything else is happening in our subconscious mind, which is why the subconscious mind becomes a lot more important. 95% average is happening in our subconscious. So when we experience negative thoughts, that's why it's very difficult to tune in until we're deep into in that pit to recognize, am I just a negative thought? And sometimes we can't even recognize that, right? Until we're sweaty and we're shaky and done and dusted, basically, so tired of experiencing the anxiety. Okay, so I want you to do something, right? Just to experience what I'm trying to say. I want you to look around your room. Okay, so I'm going to trust that you're doing this. I'm going to look around. I want you to look around the room. Take as many information as possibly can. Who is in there? What's in there? What colors are there? What colors the drapes are, the walls and everything. You might remember some of them, but just take all the information in now. Just look around. Okay. Now I want you to close your eyes and I try and remember as many as you can, and then count how many you can. You can't cheat. Count as many information as you can remember, and then count. And then just let me know the number of items or things that you could remember from the room. Yeah, just drop in a chat box. How many things did you remember? 5, yeah. Others, how many? 14, 15, awesome. 6, yeah. 8, 16, cool. 5, Awesome. It's roughly about 5 to 9. And if you remembered more, that's awesome. It's also probably because you're also in a familiar environment, right? Yeah, exactly. If you're in your lounge and you remember everything, and I won't be able to work it. But in a different environment where you've not experienced before, this would have worked. Normally, we only remember 5 to 9, but every other information has been processed. It either remembers, it's either deleted or distorted, and stored in your subconscious. Okay, cool. Everybody who's just joined, welcome. I'm just going to carry on. Hope you're all right. Hopefully you'll be able to receive the recording so you can catch up. So that's why the subconscious mind is so powerful, and we need to know how to work with our subconscious mind to learn to turn off our negative thoughts. I'm just going to give you a little kind of step-by-step count of what might be happening in our subconscious. So we have feelings of the past memories, like, say, for example, let me think about something I remember as a child. I grew up with my grandmother a lot. My parents had a very violent marriage, so I was subject to a lot of, witnessed and experienced a lot of things in between. And before I worked on those memories and the trauma, I could just tune into that, and I could physically experience that fear and everything within me, because we have experienced those feelings in the past, and we, anything that is associated with feelings, they fire and wire well in our brain. And our feelings become our means of thinking, right? Does it make any sense? So, for example, if I watch a movie, right, and that has parents fighting, right, even with me having worked on my trauma, and I still find it very uncomfortable watching them, and I watch a movie that has a violent scene, right? I don't watch horror movies or anything, right? I start living, memorizing. That's all I can process of. That's all I can process. For example, a lot of people reacted to COVID and lockdown. Okay, the lack of freedom, lack of certainty, right? That's our thinking, that's our feelings. Because most of us can't think greater than how we feel. If you're sad, that's all we can think and we can feel, right? When we are in a sad situation, positive thinking doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't work, because we can't think beyond what we feel. And also our thinking, it's like egg and chicken and egg situation. Our thinking is also our feelings. Every thought you experience, right? Every single thought has a very unique chemical reaction in your brain. Okay, so thought becomes feelings as well. So every single thought has its own identical chemical reaction, and that's why change is hard. Let me tell you a story. So imagine, I don't know how many of you have heard about Papua New Guinea as a country. Just give me a thumbs up if you've heard about it. Yeah, I don't know if any of you've been. I would love to go to that country one day. I don't know if any of you have been, share your experience. If any of you know of that country, you know that it's all the villages most of the villages are situated in valleys. They have a unique geographical situation. Therefore, they have about 800 languages, because they don't communicate with each. They don't have a common language. They have about 800 because of the geographical situation. It's very rare that they mix up with other tribes. It might have changed now, right? Things change and transport change. So imagine some of those tribal villages who've never seen a visitor before, right? And then one day, and they only know what they know. between the valley. They know the territory very well. They're very comfortable with it. You might identify this concept with your comfort zone. They're very comfortable with it. But one day a visitor comes, a thought comes, you see an inspiration somewhere. And then what happens? You start getting curious. We are naturally curious people as human beings, right? And then you want to make a change in your life, right? So you pack your bag, you hear everything from that visitor about the rest of the world, beautiful seas and everything, and towns with electricity, and you get really excited. You start pack your bag and you're leaving that valley. You're climbing up the mountain, you can see your village, you look back, you're comfortable, it's okay. You can feel it, you can smell it, you can still feel that comfort, right? You go to the top of the mountain, you can still feel that valley and the village, but too far. You start beginning to wonder what might be there for me. Now, this is the anxiety kicks in, this part, uncertain, because he has not experienced what that town is like. He has no feelings attached to that town that he's going to visit. Positive thinking is the same. We haven't experienced the feeling. Therefore, we just don't know what it's like. So it's very difficult to connect as much manifestation as we do, right? Manifestation sometimes ends up in the negative thought zone because we don't know what that future is like. So he keeps going, he starts climbing down. Now the stretch zone. He doesn't know the village, he doesn't know how to go back. He feels like, I want to go back, I want to go back, I want to go back. This is the part that we find it difficult to break those habits. We start looking for what's familiar to us because we have a feeling attached to it, and we know that feeling, even if it's a bad one. That's why a lot of people find it difficult to leave a job that they hate. That's why a lot of people find it difficult to leave a miserable relationship, even though they know it's not for them, right? I know from experience, I spent about 3 years considering that option, right? So some people start going back to that village because they just can't take that risk anymore, right? But some people just keep going and they find that new place. And that's why consistent action, that courage, we need it all. And also sometimes a little bit of help. That's how the negative thoughts, that's how we can let go of the negative thoughts. You'll have pitfalls in the way, but it's okay because it's going to happen. But don't let that discourage you. Just keep going, just like that traveler, discover that new place of happiness. It can be done. I even have days, even now I have days, even with all these tools and, I'm quite literate in this and very happy in my life. But even there are days it's like, nope, can't do it. Nothing works. I'm going to get a call to my lovely Ruth, who is my therapist. And we arrange, it's very rare, but we still arrange something and we heal. Cool. Right. Let's just experience that. I've been doing lots of talk. Have you got any questions to ask so far? Any questions? Okay. So what I would like you to do is write down a couple of negative thoughts that bothers you the most, about 3 of them, and then we'll pick one to work with. Just give me a thumbs up when you've written them down, or use your phone to type, or just keep it in your head. Okay, just give me a thumbs up if you've sort of focused on a couple of things that I wanted to work on. Cool, awesome. Thank you. Okay, cool. So I would like you to now shake your hands a little bit. Cool. Shake your hands a little bit. Right, shake your hands. Shake your hands and like squeeze and just squeeze your shoulders and just relax. Yeah, I can very well see my lockdown snacks here. All right, cool. And let's do some deep breathing about 3 times. So when you take a deep breath in, count to about 7, let it out in 11. Basically what we're doing is we are calming down the nervous system. We have sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. We let it out in 11 or longer. We tune into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming nervous system, just to remember, easy. Okay, ready? And take another deep breath in. Another one in 7. 11. Brilliant. I just want you to close your eyes now. Okay. Really leave all those worries and everything in a box or behind a door or close them and just talk to them and tell them that you will come back. You're not ignoring them. But for now, they have to stay behind a little bit. So close your eyes and say to yourself, I give myself permission to switch this negative thoughts off. And it's time to invite, just tell whether it's peace, calm, whatever you want to invite. And it's time to invite peace into my life. I give myself permission to accept these emotions and feelings I'm experiencing. I forgive myself for feeling and experiencing these negative thoughts. And I choose to let them go. And it's time to invite peace, calmness into my life. Cool. I'm going to share the screen. Cool. Can you all see the screen? So when I said I asked you to pick a couple of negative thoughts, didn't I? So just pick one of them. Just pick a priority. If that's a priority, if you could let one go, what would that thought be? Think about that. And when you think about that negative thought, just write down everything you're experiencing. Was it the panic? Is it the panic? Is it the sadness, anger, frustration? You know, just be honest with yourself. You don't have to be politically correct. This is your time. And you don't have to think about anybody else either. Nobody's going to hear this. This is you. Just write them all down. And then think about your physical reactions as well. What are you feeling when you experience those negative thoughts? Is it the heavy head? Is it the chest? Is it the stomach? What's going on? Write them down. in. And what are you saying to yourself? You know, often something in general, I'd say, most people say to themselves, I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm not lovable, it's my fault. These like core beliefs that we have. These beliefs comes in different ways, different statements. Cool. And I wanted to give it a scoring as well from 0 to 10. 10 is like most distressed feeling or sensation. A 0 is calm. Cool. I'm going to stop sharing for now, but if you want this guidance, just drop me your email address and I'll email it to you. If not, yeah, I'll ask Smita if she could. Just drop me your email address later to my direct chat and then I'll email it to you. All right. I don't know if any of you have heard about emotional freedom technique or EFT. This is one of the techniques I'm gonna, yeah, you can either tune into when it actually happens or you can tune into now if it's happening right now. So it's about when I was frustrated, when I tuned into something and I was frustrated, and then that was about 10 out of 10. And I can tune into it and then I can feel the tightness in my head and chest going, and yeah, your physical reactions quickly change. Have any of you heard about emotional freedom technique? EFT tapping, have you tried it? Cool. So yes and yes, that's awesome. So I remember I talked to you about, it's very helpful. Yeah, this is one of the things that I'm going to teach you now. It's very helpful. Do you remember I talked about, if you've heard about it, not done it, you're going to experience some magic now, okay? What I was going to say, do you remember I talked to you about the amygdala, the stress response, fight or flight response? What EFT does is there's a whole lot of science behind it, but I'm going to give you the simplest version of it. We have energy systems flowing in our body. What we do with the tapping of these points is we send a message to amygdala, which is responsible for fight or flight response, which is our anxiety response, stress response, and it turns it off. And it's been clinically proven to do that. Okay, so anxiety comes down about 40%, depression about 37%. These are clinical research and data. And your happiness increases by 37%. And your immune markers goes up about 113%. You know, it's effective for a lot of things. And I use that as one of my tools when I work with my clients. My main approach is something called matrix reimprinting, which is where the magic happens, according to me. This is so helpful. So I'll show you how it's done. So we do a setup statement, okay? It's about being in the present and tuning into the problem. So although I experienced these negative thoughts about this COVID and not being able to go out and not being able to see my friends and family and hug them, I choose to accept myself and love myself anyway. I'll send you the documents, so don't worry about writing them all down. Yeah, send me your email if you like. If not, I'll ask Smita. Right. Although I experienced these negative thoughts in my chest, and they're about 10 out of 10 intensity. I deeply accept myself and love myself anyway. Although I have been experiencing these negative thoughts for a while now, regarding, you can be specific, you can tap with me, right? It's time to let them go and invite peace and calmness into my life. I love myself and I accept myself, and I forgive myself for experiencing these negative thoughts. I choose to let them all go now, okay? And then we start tapping on the top of your head about 6-7 times, sort of gentle tapping, okay? Gentle tapping, gentle tapping. And the beginning of your eyebrow, let me just make myself bigger, right? Beginning of your eyebrow, end of your eyebrow, under your eye, and just keep saying what you're experiencing, all these negative thoughts. Under your nose, all these negative thoughts. On your chin, all these negative thoughts. All these negative thoughts. On your collarbone, gentle, it's like you touch a butterfly. All these negative thoughts. And under your arm, hope you can see me, where the bra line is, all these negative thoughts under your armpit. All these negative thoughts. And then wrist, all these negative thoughts. All these negative thoughts. All these negative thoughts. Just top of your fingers. Top of your fingers. Top of your fingers. That's one round of tapping. So we'll just do some tapping now. I'll give you a little bit of guidance, but just tune into how you're feeling, whatever you're feeling. Okay, there's no right or wrong way to say these things, right? And if you're not happy to say, I deeply accept myself, then just say, I want to, or I intend to, I'd like to. Just replace it with anything that you like, that works for you. Ready? Although I have been experiencing these negative thoughts for a while, it's time to let it go. I deeply accept myself and love myself anyway. Do about setup statement about 3 times. Although my negative thoughts have been making me feel unwell, anxious, and it's just taken my happiness away, and it's kept me trapped. And it's made me lose my energy and engagement with life. I deeply accept myself, love myself anyway. All these negative thoughts have been making me a different person, and I feel like I'm I'm an imposter. I have less joy. It's time to let go and invite joy, invite happiness and calmness into my life. All these negative thoughts just made me disengage with loved ones. It's made me disengage with myself, and it's taken my joy away from me. It's making me an imposter. And it's making me feel anxious all the time, these negative thoughts. All these negative thoughts that I have been experiencing has taken joy away from my life. Made me a snappy, angry. Replace it with anything that's appropriate for you. Angry person. All these negative thoughts, I just didn't know any better. I watched and learned these from other people. I was told to believe these things. I watched it on TV. I learned them as a child. I just didn't know any better. It's time to let go of them now. All these negative thoughts, they've been serving me all this time. It's probably kept me safe. Just replace, okay? If it's not relevant to you, then don't use it. It's kept me safe all this time. It's served me well. But it's time to let them go now because it doesn't serve me anymore. Every single cell of my body that's been hosting these negative thoughts. And I'm asking every single of my body, every single of my nerve, every single nerve of my body to let go of these negative thoughts. Because I'm going to fill them up with love, peace, calmness. I'm going to fill them up with calmness. It's time to let go of these negative thoughts. Although negative thoughts have kept me feeling trapped and safe at the same time, although they were conflicting, again, replace it with whatever that works for you, okay? And it's time to let them go now. All these negative thoughts that I have been experiencing, that's been stealing my joy away from me. I forgive you, and you can leave me now. I give you, if you can't forgive, don't force yourself. Just say, it's all right for you to go. Something like that. I forgive you now, it's all right for you to go now. Right? I want you to leave me in peace. Okay. I'd like you to make an assessment of your scoring and how you're actually feeling. And if you just leave me some feedback in the chat box, that would be amazing, so I can decide how we move on. Relaxed. Awesome. Thank you very much. Have calmed down a lot. Yeah, I feel energized. Score has gone down, feeling better, elated. Yeah, better. Yeah, cool. Relaxed. Thank you very much. Slightly less tension. Yeah. Cool. You might, if you haven't experienced this before, relaxed and present. Brilliant. Thank you very much. EFT is very much about being present. And when you practice it every day, I mean, I do that about half an hour in the morning now. Every day, that's my day, you know. You can unblock everything, gotten rid of. Yeah, I need to remember doing this. Yeah. There is a, awesome. It doesn't matter what hand you use, it really doesn't matter. And also, getting these order doesn't matter as long as you stimulate the meridian points or these energy points, as long as you send the message to that amygdala in your brain and you turn it off, that's what matters. There's no right or wrong order. You can miss a couple of things, that's absolutely fine. I mean, every single meridian point has a reason, like this one is for frustration. So every single meridian has, I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert on meridian, you know, haven't studied Chinese meridian system. I've only learned EFT, I haven't learned the meridian system. But every single point has a reason. So like this one, like I said, frustration. But as long as you do that, because this is a combination of modern psychology, and this is also an acceptance. We're accepting, we're not running away from our emotions. We're saying, I am fed up, I am screwed up, or whatever the language that you want to use, we're kind of lifting that lid. We're just letting go of that lid so that we can accept. After all, we're human beings. We have been told to shush from a very start, especially our generations or the previous generations. We've been told to buck up and get on with it. And we're used to just shushing ourselves and not accepting, right? So what this does is that 5-10 minutes, it just allows you to feel it. When you feel it, there's the negative sort of the reaction in your brain. And when you send the message, it turns it off. It's simple. It's simple. Now, somebody who said, I need to remember to do this when I experience negative thoughts. And this is the thing, when you experience negative thoughts, you can know everything all the tools in the world. When you experience it, it's very difficult to do that because you've already gone down that road. So what you need to do is every morning, every afternoon, when you wake up, I do that. Like I've got my, hands under the duvet in the morning. It's a bit cold, and I do that. Right, I may have woken up, not slept, very rare now, but I may have woken up really tired. I may have woken up very angry. I love myself and I accept myself. What is that? Oh my God, I'm sorry, my daughter is excited by something on the TV screen. I thought something's happened, sorry. All right, just do that. So that what happens is every day when you do that, when you tune in, when you're conscious, and when you haven't necessarily, or when you're not necessarily experiencing negative thoughts, it breaks that habit and it breaks the pattern. Okay? Just it breaks the pattern. That's what EFT does. It just basically breaks patterns of behavior, breaks patterns of language that we talk. It's a combination of modern psychology, neuro-linguistic programming. I'm also an NLP practitioner. It breaks the cycle of, uses modern psychology, use neuro-linguistic programming through that language that we use, and it also physically working. It's a physiological approach. Would you like to do another round of tapping, or do you have any questions to ask? Any questions you may ask? If you'd like to, matrix reimprinting is an extension to EFT, but it goes deeper into the subconscious. So we start with matrix, we I'll come back to that question. So we bring the intensity levels down, but we go into the memories and we follow the memories. So I'm yet to experience any. No worries. Thank you very much, Elena. I'm yet to experience any matrix session where we didn't end up in the childhood. And sometimes we go as far as 2 years old, 3 years old. I have experienced myself when I was the client. 2 weeks old, and I had to speak to my mom and asked about what was that memory, and it turned out I'd actually fallen off the pillow to the ground because she'd left me on a table because I was tiny and she didn't think I'd fall, but I'd fallen and I'd remembered that. So it just really goes, and what we do is it's a bit like you are being the superhero of your own movie and you're going there to save the child. But you're not necessarily saving the child yourself as an adult. You're telling that child, you can use this tool, you can use that. How is that going to help? So you're resourcing the child to save themselves. It's really quick. The shift can happen really quickly. Thank you, Zoe. And then there was another question about, so it's the best thing to do in the morning. It really up to you. Sometimes I do that when I'm in the shower, when it's comfortable for you. When we go into too many routines and I want to do this at 5:30 in the morning, we just end up not doing it. So whenever you have, so I have, my routine is I wake up, I do that and come down, boil the kettle, and I do a little bit of tapping. I do positive ones as well. It's time to invite abundance into my life now. And then I do a bit of boiling and then have my breakfast, cup of tea, and then I go into deep tapping, deep work, the things that I need to do. So that's kind of my routine. And sometimes, like just before I sat down here, just to calm me down, because it's been a very busy day, 8-year-old upstairs, and I was like, okay, it's time to calm down. It's time to calm down now. Calm down now. Just really trying to focus on. So whatever I do, it's my go-to tool now, because it's very immediate. It's like gives immediate results. Yeah, right. Well, I'm happy to just move on to the next stage, if you're happy. Negative thoughts can't just be turned off just by working on the past. You've got to work on the future as well. Because, if you've heard about neuroplasticity, we have our brain, we've got the neurons, and sometimes when they're not in use, they die. And we have to give birth to those neurons. So we have to start working towards something that's meaningful for us, whether it's a cooking, whether it's learning to cook something new, whether it's learning to do something. How I started was, when I was deep down in that place, I told myself I'm going to swim one more lap in the swimming pool. And I'm a horrible, horrible swimmer. I can't swim in deep pools or sea or anything. I can only swim if I can touch the ground. But I told myself I'm going to do one more lap. And I did one more lap, every day, one more lap added, or every week, one more lap added. And then I started walking in nature, something I hadn't done in ages. And then I started discovering new places, and I started going to new places, enjoying, really grasping it in. And, some of the things I do is like I talk to birds, do something that's very present, okay? And that way you start creating new neural pathways in your brain. Manifestation works when you let go of the past and when you resolve, right? Because you have to meet halfway through. Otherwise, manifestation goes in a bit of a tug of war. You've got that past child who is stuck in that. So what happens when we have experienced traumatic experiences, whether it's small trauma or big trauma, we get stuck in that place. And that's why Matrix is very fast to get in there and unstucking it. We get stuck in that place. So when I was 7, I experienced sexual abuse, so I had no trust in people. So I had to go into that, unstuck that child, okay? And until that happened, nothing else in terms of building up relationships or having trust or having the courage to leave that marriage, and nothing worked. Nothing worked. I mean, I'm an academic person. I have a really strong educational background. Still, and I'm normally a very confident person, still didn't have the courage to do anything like that because that child was scared. And when that happened and that resolved, right, bam, I could make it, not like bam, I could make a decision, right? But visualization, what visualization does is it creates a feeling and it creates a new neural network in your brain. So what I said earlier about the neural networks and the feelings, so when you visualize, there's a new neural network. So you kind of create something magnificent in your brain, right? And then your vibration changes and all the other things change. You take different actions, you take different decisions, but you have to nourish your brain every day. Nourishing just doesn't happen through manifestation. It happens through taking actions, doing different things, finding something new every day, and also eating healthy food as well. It's very important to eat green stuff, nuts and omega-3, and take sugar out of your diet. Sugar, carbohydrate. I'm not a nutrition either, but take those things, because those raises anxiety a lot, and anxiety and negative thoughts, they're chicken and egg. So try everything that you can do to eliminate external stimulations for anxiety, so processed food and that sort of things. So we just have to, and also human connection, chat, talk, journal, share your stories, write that story somewhere. And that, what happens is the more you let it out, right? More you let it out, more you release, more you feel relieved. And it just creates a different narrative for you, right? And talking about switching off negative thoughts without talking about trauma is a bit like asking you to make asking you to write a recipe for pasta without using the word pasta. There's, even for us who've had perfect childhood experiences, wealthy families, loving parents, there is something somewhere, right? The traumas are very relative experiences. Like, I've had very traumatic experiences. I grew up in Sri Lanka. There was war, there was riots. I mean, bodies everywhere. That sort of childhood, and plus my parents, chaos. And my daughter's childhood is like nothing like that, and she gets traumatized by a spider. But it's just similar trauma. It's similar trauma because it's the experience and it's the belief that's attached to it. So you might be thinking, well, actually, I've not had any traumatic experiences, but I am yet to experience a matrix session where people have started saying that, and then halfway through going, I didn't realize that was that. It's just very subtle. The beliefs are subtle, and these beliefs, we get taught them as well. If you go to church, if you go to temple, I grew up in Sri Lanka, very conservative society. It's like an incubator for negative thoughts, that culture. Don't do this, don't do that, don't spread your legs, you'll you lose your vagina. That's the kind of belief that was put in my head growing up, right? So everything that we learn, absorb, we just have to let them go one by one and just truly connect with who you are as a person. If you feel like going out in the imagine this, it's raining and your body is telling you to go out and dance in the rain, right? But you're holding yourself back because of what other people might say to you, or whether you're being laughed at, right? You're suppressing yourself. These are all feeding negative thoughts, right? So if you have the ability, if you can create the ability to go, everyone, go and have a shower, go and dance in the rain, then that's wholehearted life. And that's when you've turned off your negative thoughts off. Negative thoughts are going to happen all the time, but you know how to turn it off. And then it just becomes a habit, right? It becomes a habit. Have you got any other questions for me? No problem, Elena. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Have you got any other questions, guys? Anything you would like to ask me? Anything you would like to say to me? Smita, are you there still? Email, just drop me a message here. I can save it and then I'll drop you an email and I'll send you the, yes, that's the thing. If you want this guide, if you'd like this guide, just let me know. Your email in a direct message to me. Thank you, Emma. Drop me a direct message to me with your email and then I'll send you, where's that guidance? Oh, it's gone. Here. I'll send you this guidance. Okay? Cool. Awesome. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much. The guidance actually has step by step on how to tap, and I'll attach tapping points as well to it so that you don't have to worry at all about remembering anything. And it's just really simple, really simple. Just do that 5-10 minutes every day, morning, afternoon. That'll be awesome. Cool. Oh, thank you very much. That's cool. Just saving it. If you have all, oh yeah, it gives me hope to know that you have got through negative thoughts. Yes, I would love to give you hope. I'd love to give you hope, and that's why I'm sharing my story. And I've overcome quite a lot, and that's how I got into this one, and that's why I believe the things I do as well. And I've worked with people who've been in conventional therapy for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. I'm working with a client who've been in and out of rehab for 15 years, for alcohol and drug addiction. And we have gone into the 4th month of without a single drop of alcohol. I mean, these are kind of things, it just can happen. Yeah. If you need any help, obviously I'm going to send you these guidance anyway, but if you need any help and you want to do a little bit of research, I have got a Facebook group. You can all join, and I'm offering loads and loads of free guidance, free talks and interviews there. Let me just get the link, 2 seconds. It's called Let's Talk Anxiety. So if you've got your phones with you right now, and you can just Facebook it as well, but I'm going to put the link here. Join in. It's called Let's Talk Anxiety. As usual, there's a couple of questions to ask. No problem. Guidance. Here's the link for my Facebook group, so you can join as well. So we'll stay in touch. And there's a lot of help there as well. Some guidance, go on the forms, and you can download some paper. I do events here and there as well, and interviews with other people like psychotherapists and, anyhow, so you're there as well. It's a non-judgmental space. Cool. And if you want to find any information about me, my website is www.coachingwithnisanka.com, and you can join in there, subscribe as well. You can stay in touch. What else would you like from me? We've got a little bit more time. I mean, you can go if you want to. But if there's anything that you would like, I'm happy to hang around, answer your questions. Anything. Any tips for now not to suppress yourself? That's a good question, because we have been just told suppress. So imagine, okay, I'll answer the first question first, not to suppress ourselves. So imagine, I think a couple of days ago, I've experienced something. There was a couple of things that, I separated. I'm Sri Lankan, so the Sri Lankan community doesn't know how to take a separated woman very well. And then there was something that upset me really badly. And what I did, I actually sat and I was trying to tap it away, but it just didn't work for me, because it was a very intense feeling. So what I did, and I allowed those feelings to come to surface. And I said, I am upset, and I'm okay that I am upset. And I have a right to be upset. It's I felt hurt, and I'm okay to feel hurt. I give myself permission to feel hurt. And then just like magic, something changed, and then I could then tap and then calm myself down, right? And then here's one thing I've got into the habit of doing, and I started asking questions. What's making me trigger? Why am I triggered? Why am I sad? So once you've gone through, accepted it, because every trigger is a message to tell you that there is an unresolved emotion somewhere, right? And you learn how to be in tune with them. You can ask the question, why am I triggered? What's this trying to teach me? What haven't I resolved? And trust me, when you get into the habit of doing it, your subconscious is so good at working with you, not against you. It's not working against you, it's working with you. And if you close your eyes and just ask, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to teach me? And then it'll tell you what it's trying to teach you. Write it down. And if you're working with a therapist, take it, right? And if it's EFT, work with EFT, right? Unblock. So at the moment, I'm just sharing a little bit more. You're going to know a lot more about me by the time you guys leave. So at the moment, I've got this child. Obviously that triggered something, and I went back into the childhood. And then I've got this child standing on top of a mountain, right? Standing on top of a mountain, and I, as an adult, want that child to fly, right, and discover. But the child is going, what's wrong with me standing here? Well, I really can't find the answers myself, so I've asked for help. So I'm having another session with my therapist. These are like, sometimes I've resolved all the traumas. There's not many traumas left, but we are also like onions. You peel one layer, there's going to be another, another. But for me, progress is also about not just letting go of the trauma, it's also unblocking everything. I want everything in my life. I've asked for everything in my life, and I'm not going to stop until I get there, right? I've got the happiness. I can be happy with little things. That doesn't mean I have said no to luxuries. So I'm asking, what is that? And I do know there are some certain things about my money mindset. I grew up in Asian culture, Sri Lankan culture, where money was this precious thing. My parents were really poor as well. Money was this precious thing that you are not meant to spend for luxuries and pleasure. It's meant to be invested for your education and for a qualification or a land or a house, But I'm like fun-loving person. I love splashing money, right? So every time I do that, I feel guilty. So there's something to do with that. And I don't know. I'm going to find out on Friday. Maybe I'll tell in my group. I might share that experience. So there was another question, I think. Hold on, let me get in. Which of the techniques worked best for me? And it is mainly the matrix. I mean, I was in conventional therapy for nearly 5-6 years. Thank you, Zoe. 5-6 years, and absolutely found no resolution. I'm an academic brain. So when I go to CT and counseling and they tell me all the theories, I go home and read and do my research. I come back with better theories, right? It didn't work for me. So matrix, I only needed about 5 sessions to resolve like major traumas. But I was very cooperative. I was willing as well. I was ready to just tell everything and just explore, because I was desperate at the time. I was losing my connection with my child and I just couldn't let that happen. So I was determined to do something. Matrix is the one that helped me, but on a daily basis, EFT works. I'm also a coach as well, ICF accredited coach. So I use a lot of visualization, positive language and all of that. I just use a combination, it's a bit of a cocktail of stuff. But matrix is the one that's powerfully dragged me out of that traumatic, painful life. That, I'm eternally grateful for that. You're welcome. Any other questions? Any other questions? No? Smita, are you around? If we haven't... Oh, thank you. No problem. All right. Don't think if you haven't got any questions. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad I could help. You know, stay in touch. Come to my Facebook group. There might be, quiet periods, but mostly I am active there. Turn off the recording. Yeah, of course. That would be amazing. Thank you very much, Smita. Thank you very much. And good night. Yes, I will send you the links as soon as I finish.